launched one of the most consequential education initiatives in the history of the country. The Nigeria Education Loan Fund, NEL Fund for short, provides interest-free loans to students in tertiary institutions who desire the loan to enable them pay their fees and for upkeep. Beneficiaries of the interest-free loan are only expected to start paying back 2 years after they secure jobs upon graduation. The government has made available over 200 billion naira for the takeoff of the initiative.
The scheme was designed and introduced by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, whose vision it is to ensure that everybody has access to education at tertiary level, and those who are coming up to tertiary level have the hope that they can rise to the highest heights without having to worry about funds. So we've disbursed in institutional fees somewhere in the region of 30 billion naira. For the upkeep, we've disbursed 24 billion naira. So we have disbursed a total of 54 billion naira, and by our numbers, 293,000, so just short of 300,000 students have directly benefited, have directly received or should have received value from our disbursement.
The initiative is helping many young Nigerians achieve their dream of getting tertiary education, as funding is now no longer a barrier.
Today, no child can be denied access to higher education because he comes from a poor family. He wasn't born to wealth and privilege. Some countries in Africa have visited Nigeria to learn the mechanics of this program. It's a landmark program.
The passage of the Petroleum Industry Bill in 2021 set the stage for a revolution in Nigeria's oil and gas industry. That revolution is now beginning to happen under the watch of President Bola Tinubu.
Before this government came, and it's very fundamental, there were a lot of, companies that were divested. And as they were divesting, divestments were frustrated. But when this government came, we went around the world campaigning that come and invest in Nigeria. And the question was asked, the companies in Nigeria couldn't divest, so how can I bring my money to invest? If tomorrow I want to divest, how do I divest? And we told them that, look, this is a new government with a new direction. And so we have been able to successfully, allowed the divestments. So the president, graciously approved of the divestments. And today, Nigeria's story has changed. And Nigeria is a country that you can bring your capex to invest and also divest as well.
For someone like this experience, to see today an administration that allowed the Seplat Exxon transaction to go through successfully, I commend it. It's not me, Tony Miller or Holdings Group buying it. It's others, but I commend it. Those are the signaling effect people want to see, investors want to see, that brings them to invest in a country. And by the way, not just investors come to invest, financial, because we need capital. Those who will release that capital want to make sure that where the capital is going to is conducive. So when you approve Seplat Exxon transaction that has been on the table since life started, it is telling a signal. You don't need any CNN advertisement.
Investors are now showing renewed interest in Nigeria's oil and gas sector. In December 2023, French energy giant Total Energies committed to invest $6 billion in the country's oil and gas industry. Other IOCs like Shell and ExxonMobil have also demonstrated similar commitments in the region of $13 billion.
There are investments that are run into tens of billions of dollars. There is also another investment that is coming that is about $20 billion, but it's good for it to come. It is announced, where it is right, but we are very close. I believe that within a very short period, that announcement will be made.
The country's refineries are now coming back on stream. Together with the privately owned Dangote refinery and other modular refineries, they've helped to cut petrol import by around 50%. It's now only a matter of time before the country completely ends petrol import and safeguards foreign exchange.
Within no short period of time, we will have 1.2 million barrels of refining capacity. What that does is, of course, it makes us self-sufficient in petroleum products. It gives us the ability to export petroleum products efficiently, formally, legally, and profitably. But more important than that, along with that refining capacity comes the production of industrial raw materials from the adjoining and complementary petrochemical complexes.
Oil theft and other constraints still remain threats to the country's crude oil production target of at least 2.1 million barrels per day in 2025. But the government is not giving up on its projection.
Well, that's, the major challenge as we came, but, with the collaboration of security agencies together with civilian contractors, we've been able to, reduce the oil theft. And that is why you see the increment that we made, over the last 2 years. But we will continue to improve on what we have been able to achieve.
On security, I speak as a significant investor in the oil and gas sector in Nigeria. Our group, as Energies, we are the third biggest producer of oil in Nigeria today. We produce over 50,000 barrels of oil on a daily basis. In December 2021, I tweeted and I cried out because we will produce, and what we'll get at the end, when we put in the pipeline, we'll get 3% of total production. And so we cried out and we shut down. We said it's totally unsustainable. We are working for thieves on the country. And that is the manifestation of insecurity. Now, fast forward to December 2024. Our recovery is 100%. What you put in the pipeline, you get at the other end. That's totally impressive.
At inception, the Bola Tinubu administration had inherited a total of 2,604 projects in the Ministry of Works from the previous administration, totaling 13 trillion naira. The figure would rise to 19 trillion naira following the removal of petrol subsidy and floating of the naira.
So the president, in fact, and of course the federal so after 2004, we selected about 404 projects, major projects, reviewed them, and they are all ongoing. And then the
four legacy projects are ambitious, gigantic, and transformative road projects. They are unprecedented in the history of the country and link the entire nation. And this is one of them, the 750-kilometer Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, which will run from Victoria Island in Lagos, southwest Nigeria, to Calabar in Cross River State in the south-south of the country. Work has since begun on the project, and its first phase, which is approximately 30 kilometers, will be commissioned in May.
Incidentally, it has two spurs. The first spur is, it was supposed to be Sokoto, Badagry, Sokoto, as, envisaged by the Shagari administration, about 45 years back. But the president, changed it to Sokoto, Badagry, 1,068 kilometers. Intention is that the Sokoto, Badagry should start from Sokoto and Kebbi. And as we talk today, we have 258 kilometers by one carriageway going on at, Kebbi section. And we have 120 kilometers, going on in, Sokoto section. We are about to procure the second carriageway of 258 in Kebbi and 250 and the 120 in Sokoto. But this is a spur, of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. So that the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, 750 kilometers of route, of course, it runs through, Lagos, to Gun, to Ondo, to Edo Delta, Bayelsa, Port Harcourt, Akwa Ibom, and the ending at Cross River. And when he ends at Cross River, the axis of Cross River now starts from there to the third legacy project, Mr. President, which is the Trans-Sahara, route, which is 462 kilometers. And it connects from the, Calabar end, going through Calabar to Ebonyi, to Enugu, to Benue, to Kogi, to Nasarawa, and ends in Abuja. And then it connects the fourth legacy project, Mr. President, which is 482 kilometers, which, starts from, Akwanga. If you look at the just concluded project of, Kefi to Makurdi, which is being told now, then from that Akwanga section, it gets to Jos. And from Jos, it gets to Bauchi, it gets to Gombe. So the entire four legacy project, Mr. President, if you look at the loop, it's all connecting the six geopolitical zone.
While work is ongoing with the legacy projects, inherited major projects are also receiving equal attention. Among them is the 700-kilometer Abuja-Kaduna-Kano highway.
I think Nigeria never had it, this good. And I want to say, with all sense of responsibility, that before now, past government has been building roads. But today, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is constructing roads. Because we are constructing roads that will last from 50 to 100 years. And the problem we've had in our road construction has been, poor design, poor construction, poor method of construction, and then lack of commitment on the side of all partners, getting things done. But it is no longer business as usual.
Across the six geopolitical zones, road projects are currently going on, overseen by a minister who's not only a core professional, but also passionate about executing the president's ambitious works projects.
There is no money. The ones that have the president is judiciously using it very well. And I'm happy with his engagement in this legacy project because foreign money is coming in at as low as 2.5%, So this legacy project has 30% funded and then 70%, loan component. When a nation borrows to do infrastructure, that is the right borrowing. And I tell you something, these legacy projects are not just road projects, they're investments. By December, we would have finished section 1 of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. Apart from the inherent benefits, we're also going to recover our money, return on investment under 10 years. We're going to be tolling it, So when we borrow to invest, when we recover the money we borrowed, we'll be able to pay back, and we also, it becomes also part of the, the wealth of the nation.
Issue of transportation, especially with the removal, to look at a cheaper way of transportation, and the railway system is the very cheap system of transportation. And he continued with what the previous government started, the railway system from Lagos to Ibadan, from Ibadan to Kaduna, from Kaduna to Kano, Kano to Daura, Daura to Katsina, Katsina to Maradi, Maradi to Jibia in Niger Republic. That project has continued. Work is going on now, and the AKK, Ajakuta, Kaduna, Kano gas pipeline, which is absolutely necessary for the industrial development, especially in those industrial cities like Kaduna, Kano. You see, that work is going on.
To address the housing challenge confronting the country, President Bola Tinubu, on assuming office, launched the Renewed Hope City and Estate Housing Initiative with a plan to build 100,000 housing units over a period of 3 years. That plan is now fully on course. Thousands of homes are currently being built across different states. The first set of houses will soon be handed over to successful applicants. Nigeria's perennial electricity challenge has for long defied every solution thrown at it. But after initiating some drastic reforms like the signing of the Electricity Act Amendment Bill 2024 and making huge investments, the government is gradually turning things around.
On 2nd of March 2025, Nigeria reached a remarkable generation available capacity of 6,003 megawatts, marking the first time this level had been recorded in the country's history. that is not enough. This achievement was followed by a peak generation evacuation of 5,801.44 megawatts on 4th of March 2025, which also saw an impressive daily energy output, the highest ever, 128,370.75 mega hours per day on that very day. We've always been in 118, 119,000 megawatts on a daily basis, but we achieved 128. That is the highest energy ever consumed in a day since power sector came to being in Nigeria, and we are proud to achieve this.
It took the country about 40 years to attain 4,000 megawatts of power, but with its reforms, this government has been able to add 1,700 megawatts to attain a peak generation of 5,800 megawatts in less than 2 years.
Now that we have created the trajectory, if we sustain this trajectory, I can assure you that before the end of this administration in 2027, the first 10 of this administration, 2027, we should be able to generate and distribute not less than 8,000 megawatts of power.
Investments are now coming into the electricity sector as a result of reforms by the government. Many states now regulate their own electricity market. The government is also investing heavily on renewable energy to power communities across the country that are not connected to the national grid through the Rural Electrification Agency. While the electricity sector still faces a number of challenges, the reform in the sector is no doubt changing the narrative one step at a time. In the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, an infrastructure revolution is going on. The Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, and his team are bringing the president's ambitious aspirations for the capital to reality, one project at a time. In just 2 years, the number of projects executed and completed is mind-blowing, and they run across the entire FCT, covering both the city centers and satellite areas where many of the residents and indigenous people live.
The leadership Mr. President has shown is what has encouraged us to take bold decisions to say, we can't continue to be business decision. We must do things in different ways. But before that, that leadership was not provided. And you don't want to go and take a decision where you can embarrass